Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Miles. So, today we're going to be talking about how to manage having a fiery personality or living with a fiery personality. So, the backdrop of this is that, hello, everyone coming in. Today, the backdrop of why I'm talking about this has to do with something that recently happened to me. Go figure. So, I am part of this group. There's been an issue within this group for a number of years. And so, because of the type of person I am, I want to deal with it. And the way that I'm probably going to deal with it, hi, Dr. Keats. The way that I'm probably going to deal with it, if I am going to do it, may not always be the smoothest approach to it. But there's reasons for that. There's obstacles that have been in the way that, in my opinion, they've been in the way too long. And so we're all kind of tiptoeing around the situation, trying to be nice, trying to make it smooth, trying to, put honey instead of vinegar and all these things. And the people who want to take care of it instead of letting me take care of it are concerned, oh, Devin, you're going to do it, harshly or things like that. So with that said, though, I've been waiting. I'm like, okay, you can do it. I understand. You can do it. But if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. And so the person would say, okay, Devin, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So a few more years have gone by, and the situation escalated to where now I'm not going to wait anymore. There is no trying to critique how Devin is. There's no trying to critique the personality or the personality traits, I should say. There is no filter. There's very little filter now. It's like, okay, I'm at the point now where I'm not necessarily going to bend anymore. It's like, I'm going to do it. You have like 1 month now. There is no, let's do this 6 months later, or a year later. It's like you literally have 1 month. And if you don't do it the way you like to do it, I'm going to do it my way. And what I gained from that is that there's a lot of people who would rather tell me how to adjust myself instead of showing how when the way that I can be a very good thing. And I'm going to get to why I think that is. But the point that I'm trying to say is that in this situation, I am the fire. I am the one that has the fiery temperament. People can have fiery temperaments, fiery traits at different times. Some of you may be, in fact, very fiery people. Other times you are fiery in certain ways. But I'm the one that's fiery in this particular situation. And what I realized is that, it took me some years to see, oh, yeah, this is why being the way I am can matter sometimes, why it can be pivotal, why it can be important, because at the end of the day, I am getting something to move. And that is something I would encourage all of you who have fiery or intense personalities to realize, is that you are able to make something move faster than other people will, because your tolerance level is shorter for it than other people's tolerance level. And so people will say, oh, be more patient and blah, blah, blah. Reality is some things are lingering way too long in people's lives because their tolerance level is so large. Whereas your tolerance level might be shorter, and that can be a good thing. So let's talk a little bit about fiery, intense personalities. Sometimes that can look like high stress, high reactions to things, anger, anxiety, being a very expressive person, good or bad emotionals. Being emotional in a good or a bad way. So true, and people don't like it. This is pure facts. I waited for 1.5 years. Enough is enough. Yeah. We've been waiting about 5, And so emotional, good or bad. And when I say all of these things, I want to make it very clear, this is not to be confused with culture. You ever seen like Somalians talk to each other? It's so funny because they literally talk so rough in like their own language. I got to witness this because I was at a restaurant where that was run by Somalians, and they'll be like, and I can't do the language. But then they'll literally be talking about something like pass me the sauce. Like it's really, really funny. And what I realized in that moment is that we also have to be mindful of that. The way people express themselves, that just could be the way they express themselves. It doesn't always need, sometimes there are times where things need to be toned down a little bit, and then other times it's just a difference. That's all it is a difference. So when I'm saying this, I'm not talking about something that's negative and I don't want it to be confused with culture. This is me talking about individuals, because these types of individuals are in all cultures, in all races, all genders. So, but when you're this type of person and there's nobody else around that's like this, you can get into a mode of being toned down to please, or you are toning yourself down to please others or be accepted by others. So if some of you probably were watching like the election last week, was that last week? 2 weeks ago? And watching the news a lot. And so you probably saw Abby. And I loved Abby. I loved her poise. I loved how amazingly smart she is, and just the way she was, right? But I was watching that with someone who was saying, I like her, she doesn't show any emotion, she's, but knowing that person, the way that they said it had more to do. I understand like Abby probably needs to be that way. That's not what I'm saying. I understand in certain situations it's good for people to be certain ways, but the way it was said, it was like there was an aggravation with people who have emotions. And I disagree with that. We all have our different gifts, and so to say it blanketly that emotions are an issue, I think is incorrect. So other times we may be trying to tone things down because we've gotten in our minds it's not appropriate to show how we are or how we feel, right? And there's this kind of being tamed that we may allow sometimes. And so what I'd like to, this is the part where I'm going to speak to people who have fiery or intense personalities. But this is also extremely important for anyone to hear who is living with someone or raising someone who has this type of personality and you're not this way. There's a difference between saying don't fire and aim, then fire. So this is where I'm saying just because somebody is fiery, it doesn't mean put a bunch of water on it, take the fire out, because at the end of the day, that's probably not going to happen. The fire is probably going to go somewhere else. There are times where we can tone it down, right? But then there's other times you have to realize that fire is still going to be there. And so when you're saying don't fire, you are saying suppress. So the reality is, as I said, that fire is probably going to go somewhere else. So where is it going? It can go into that person. And then you have anxiety because you have all this energy that you're just literally trying to put into this little space that is too small for all the energy. And this person is walking around just tense all the time because they're literally trying to contain how they are. And then it could also be because all that energy can be essentially trapped within the person in that way. There can be things like anxiety, right? There can be coping mechanisms. So there can be coping mechanisms of trying to tone down the personality by food or by alcohol, just to try to get the person to calm down. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later. But you have to understand that when you say don't fire, you might be creating another issue. So that issue may not affect you, right? But it's going to affect someone else. And so the other thing that I wanted to mention is that for the fiery or intense people, some people will say things like, oh, you're overreacting, right? Or you're overthinking, or you're taking it too far, and things like that. But your reaction is happening because at a basic level, you have a concern. just like anybody else would have a concern, but they're not happy with the reaction that you have to the concern. Um, so, as I said before, the reality is, though, your tolerance level for that concern is probably less, while others' tolerance level for that concern is more. Um, so that means, though, that you are more likely to do something about your concern more quickly. And that is a good thing. It is progress. So, we say things like, yeah, I'm gonna light a fire under their butt to get them going. We say things like burning bridges. We say things like, oh, he's got a fiery personality. But it's funny because we don't there are other countries, other cultures that have systems to talk about elements. We don't, and yet still we inherently kind of know about these different elements by saying things like that. Because it's just like, where did that come from, right? How would we know to say that person has a fiery personality or something like that? So in Chinese medicine, for instance, they recognize the elements of wood, fire, what is it, metal, water. I might be forgetting one. Earth. Um, in Ayurvedic medicine, they have what's called the doshas. Vata is associated with air. Pitta, I believe, is associated with fire, and Kapha, a little bit more water. And so when we're talking about, and when they say it, when they're talking about these are the elements that can show up in people, it's not a right or wrong thing that's happening. It's just like, this is what we've observed. This is where people can be. And then depending on where they are, this is how you can get them back into balance. So anybody, even somebody who's got more of a water constitution or a watery personality, they still need balance too. So it's just that we don't always recognize that because maybe they're just calm, and we love people who are calm, but sometimes we are the people who are more fiery in nature, or in your spaces where you are fiery. Sometimes that fire is worth being there, because that person who's a little bit more slow to do something, right? Or they don't have the motivation, you can be there to be like, go. So I think what I'm trying to say is that we all need each other. So, and to talk about me just a little bit, again, I'm not always fiery. Sometimes I'm real calm. There's different elements, I think, that can be at play in different people at different times. But it's just that recently there was something that came up that made me realize that sometimes having more of an intense personality or intense ways about you, or being more fiery, can be a good thing. So in this situation, what I see myself as is the accelerator. I am moving the needle on a situation. So to me, that is the benefit of me being part of this group in this situation that we are dealing with, because now I'm about to move it. And sometimes when you move something, sometimes people don't want you to move the needle because there's going to be tension. They're not ready to deal with the tension, but you might be. And that is why you're ready to move it, because you're like, I don't care, it just needs to be moved. And you're ready to deal with it. And just try to make sure before you move the needle, though, that you are ready to deal with it. And when you're in a group situation, you can piggyback off of each other. You can take the feedback so that when you do use the fire that you have, you can aim it. You can do it a certain way. You can calm it down, aim it, and then it's effective. So the other thing, now I want to go into the other part, which is that when you have a fiery or intense personality, as I said before, sometimes we may be trying to tone these down with alcohol or food or other addictive behaviors, because we're just trying to calm ourselves down. And sometimes that is warranted. Being intense all the time is not, it's usually not the best things. We do need to have a sense of calm in our lives. And so what I'm trying to get at is that sometimes there may in fact be a mood instability that's driving you to being so intense all the time, that's driving your anger, that's driving a bad temper, that's driving You're just being on edge all the time. And so, if that is the case, you might have a higher constant stress level than the average person. So, when you have this higher stress level, you have what's called high cortisol. That's a hormone. And when you have high cortisol all the time, that can lead to a lot of other things happening: inflammation, having lower serotonin, low dopamine. So there could be some elements of depression, anxiety, and blood sugar swings, and all of this. And so that may be why you want to grab food all the time, why you need the smoke. I was just talking with my sister, and she works in a cancer unit, and it's funny that sometimes her patients will come in and they'll get their procedures, go through a round of chemo, and then they want to smoke. And my sister's like, are you really? But it's a habit, it's addictive behavior. Those chemo treatments are not calming down the stress. And that can also be important to realize about people, that if you are a doctor, when you see these behaviors of them going right back, you got to ask why. And sometimes it could be that there is some underlying mood instability. And sometimes this can be difficult to figure out, or for them to even pick up on, because the environment that they grew up in might have been the same way. So they don't even realize that it's not normal. And so over time, they may start to realize that as they get older, they're around more people, they're starting to see the differences between them and other people. So what I'd like to say, though, about what I'm going to talk about is, when you have mood instability, it's very common knowledge now. Medications for things like depression, anxiety, they can be helpful, but they're not always perfect. Some people are very refractory. Some people don't like that certain medications can make them feel numb. So what I have noticed through working with nutrition and herbs, that numb feeling I don't hear stories of that, that the person feels numb. They just feel a little bit more balanced. They feel more normal. They're not as tense, but their personality is not numbed. So I just wanted to talk about a couple things. So if you feel like there might be some mood instability, think about different herbs, nutrients, also avoiding food sensitivities. So my history is that I was diagnosed with IBS at 21. That's irritable bowel syndrome. And so dealing with that helped me to see that if I ate the wrong things, my stress tolerance would go down. I would be more anxious. I would be more reactive. Certain foods made me even angry or irritable. And so that's why I say watch what you're eating. Try to pay attention to what you're eating and how it affects your mood. I do encourage you to work with someone on that, because you may not know what to pull out of your diet and test to see what the difference is. So I'm a doctor who provides a natural approach for prevention, digestive health, and kidney functions. And digestive health can look like things like gas and bloating, constipation, diarrhea, heartburn. So in addition to that, also things like Qigong and Tai Chi. These are slow exercises that can really help to bring a sense of calm. Different mantras, depending on what faith you've chosen, prayer, all these things done on a regular basis can help to help keep you in a more stable space. So some herbs that I'd like to talk about. One is kava kava. It's a sedative, so it can help you to sleep better. Helps reduce spasms, reduce inflammation, also release pain. Helps release stress, anxiety, insomnia, and tension headaches. The next one is skullcap, also known as Scutellaria. Again, sedative, antispasm, helps to reduce blood pressure. It helps to restore the nervous system. And so this is really the area that we're talking about when we're talking about having more fiery traits or more intense traits that do need some balance. So Scutellaria also helps with restless sleep and agitation. So think, we use that word. Why is she so agitated and irritated? Sometimes herbs can help with these things. You don't always have to just feel this way all the time. Another one is chamomile. Most people have chamomile around the house to perhaps use to help them induce sleep. But it's also a great one to use if you're high stress during the day. This can help with calming that down, and especially if you have different digestive issues like gas or bloating, that can also help. Chamomile can also help with that. So it helps reduce inflammation, reduce spasm, nervousness, as well as nightmares, especially in children. The next one is Avena sativa. This is oats, not necessarily the oatmeal. It's another part of the plant, but this is the plant where oats come from. So Avena sativa can help with breaking addictive habits. It's one that you would need to take more long term to have its effects, and it also helps with an irritated nervous system. The next one is Schizandra. Schizandra is hepatoprotective, so what that means is it helps protect the liver. It increases brain efficiency, builds strength, helps with insomnia, night sweats, relaxing. It's a relaxing adaptogen. So an adaptogen is something that helps you to adapt to stress, tolerate stress a little bit better. It can also help with forgetfulness due to stress, and it helps to control anger. Lemon balm is the next one. Lemon balm helps with indigestion due to stress. It's quite calming, and it could also potentially help with migraines. And then the next one is an amino acid, which is glycine. So glycine can alleviate sudden anxiety or spinning thoughts. It helps to improve serotonin, helps release serotonin. So serotonin is a hormone slash neurotransmitter that helps you to have a good mood. So glycine can help boost that for you. So the resulting serotonin release in the prefrontal cortex of your brain helps with alleviating insomnia and depression. Studies on glycine have illustrated improved REM sleep and mood in individuals with insomnia. And then also, these individuals have reported a better mood and improved clarity independent of the quality of their sleep as well. So, those are a few things that you could take to also help balance you out. But the other thing that I wanted to mention in terms of coping, therapy can also be great. There's a lot of tools that are available now, and so I do encourage you to seek them out and then blend what works for you. So one of the things that is talked about a lot in I guess kind of general society when it comes to coping is this idea of gratefulness. But one of the things that I would like you to also consider is complimenting other people, because what I have noticed sometimes can happen is that we're drawn to news and negativity out of safety. And I think this trend is showing up sometimes in our interactions with other people. When we don't feel safe, we are uncomfortable. And so sometimes we can, just we as humans in general, can criticize people when we don't like something about them, or it agitates us. It makes us uncomfortable. We feel the need to criticize, but we don't follow it up later on with complimenting. And gratefulness can help with feelings of feeling like things are just not going our way and stuff, and it helps remind us what's good. But I think what's nice about complimenting is that it can create a loving feeling between you and that other person that you're complimenting. It's a nice feeling to compliment, and it's nice to see the person appreciate that compliment. And so when you're creating feelings like that, of course, the stress can also go down. And so you may have felt people don't appreciate your personality. They always want to try to critique it and things like that. And so one of the things that I would encourage you to do, if they never gave you that, this is where your personality is great. That can be something you start to implement with other people, is saying, hey, I like when your personality in these situations, oh, you did that great, or something like that. Going beyond, hey, I like the way you cook the meal, talking to them about who they are. What else was I going to say here? So all of these coping mechanisms I would encourage you to do not only when you're feeling like you're going out of balance or you're going too far, something like that. Some of how you feel in terms of the intensity or the anxiety, they may be more situational. So outside of certain situations, you're fine. But when the situations do happen, and these are not even major situations, but whatever situations can aggravate can aggravate you. It may be that the way you react is more severe than the average person. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is have things in place on a regular basis to help balance you, so that when these situations do come, your reaction won't be so severe. You'll be able to handle it a little bit better, get through it a little bit better. So my last thing is to say, don't take what the world gives you to hide your gifts, but only to hone them. And this is something that parents do with their kids anyway. Kids are just, here's what, you see what you get, what I'm trying to say. What you see is what you get. They're fully out with their personality, and parents are there to help guide them. And so as an adult, this is a guiding process that you also partake in for yourself. So that's it, guys. I hope you have a great day. Again, my name is Dr. Miles, and I provide a natural approach to prevention, digestive health, as well as kidney function. You can reach me at drdevonmiles.com, and I do provide online consultations, so I can work with you from anywhere. All right, guys, have a great day.